there are a few other areas that I definitely want to address, and we do want to talk about the financial piece, but just having dialogue behind the scenes makes me ask the question, is the world asking too much of the church? Because, sometimes we think the church will handle this, and I am one, you guys know, on the Power of Gospel, I say, the church should be able to do this, the church should be able to do that, the church should be able to do that. It should address the needs of the total man, but the reality of the situation is the church can't be everything to everybody all the time.
Right.
So how do we change that perspective that the church should be everything, because it's the core of our community, particularly the black community?
Yeah. The church cannot be everything, but the church must feed the church must be available to have the 2 fish and 5 loaves.
Gotcha.
And feed the multitudes. We must understand too, the church deals with limitations also. If it's a rainy Sunday or a snowy Sunday,
people ain't coming to church.
Which means your
which
budget
means
is down.
Yeah.
Right, and your budget's down, so you
Right.
can't necessarily. We had a young man in Newark that was shot and killed, a gang member, this weekend, and they called the church. They called the cathedral, asking for clothes for the burial, clothes for the children to go to the funeral. I'm like, why did they call our church out of all that? Well, didn't know, but the grandmother was a member of this church many years ago, and we buried her here in the late 90s. Now, so the family was never connected to the church, but they knew about this. We did that. We paid for the clothes, and somehow the Lord provided, because in this recession, whatever we bring in for benevolence, which is what we give to the needy, it just goes out like that.
Immediately. Right.
But we were able to do that. Do you know that whole family was in church on Sunday?
See.
That whole family's in church. And so I think the church needs to do well what it's supposed to do. Offer hope, offer alternatives, offer a better life, offer an abundant life. And the world is looking at the church, but the church must also work in concert with the community. The church must help empower the family, because according to Paul, the first place you're supposed to go is your family first.
That's right.
Before the church. But the family is so fragmented. The other thing I want to say too is that people are so frustrated, and they're borderlining on fatigue. The nerves of people is shattered.
Yes.
They're afraid. And they're hypersensitive in this hyper-change climate. And we're connecting on Facebook and, MySpace to a lesser degree, Twitter, we're texting and all that, but we're not connecting.
Not relationship. You're actually my Facebook friend, Dr. Hilliard, and he gives words of inspiration and invites, and it's a great opportunity to expose, but it keeps you separate from having one-on-one dialogue and face-to-face communication.
And I don't know if that day's ever going to come back. Quite frankly, I think that instead of cursing the darkness, we have to light a candle. And we have to be willing to make the adjustments that are necessary in this society. Moses is dead. Joshua now is on the scene, and this Joshua generation is a different breed. Their commitment to Christ, their commitment to the church, it's just a different animal altogether.
So I have to ask you about that, because being the Joshua generation, I oftentimes find that it is more challenging for the younger soldiers to come up, and there's been a sense of frustration where I'm gonna say, as Joshua generation, we've had to do without the okay or the validation of our elders. It's like we've had to do things independent of, and then be validated after fact. And now I know that's not in order, but when you hear the call of God, yet you have the frustration of not willing to release authority from our elders. How are we supposed to handle that?
Right.
And I speak as an individual that has been in ministry for a long time, and I know that it has been God that has truly created the pathway for me, so that I guess no one else can get the credit or the glory of saying I made you into what have you. But always knowing that there's someone there ahead of me that is ushering me in and telling me what stumbles not to take is always a wonderful thing to have.
Right.
Everyone doesn't have the support system that Nicole may have.
Right.
Just coming up in ministry. How do we get that relationship between our elders, and the Joshua generation to be more efficient, more loving, more embracing?
Part of that's the culture also. The culture is not warm. The culture is not embracing. And we're not a communal-minded people or community-minded people as we were. and many of the elders are so caught up in just their own personal survival.
Okay.
And then one of the challenges in our community, and you're speaking about what I call Big Mama.
Right.
We're the big mamas and the fathers in Zion. Some of them are gone off the scene. Some of them are now mired in raising grandchildren that they didn't expect to raise, and
That's right.
their lives are so completely crowded that they're not able to pour back into you, which is why I established this Vision Casting Mentor Me company.
Yes.
And that's really what this whole vision casting piece is about. Is as it evolves, there'll be a team of mentors in this particular arena of business development. But my role is to help people spark the vision and the dream within. And then I bring other speakers in that will give them the fine tunings, how to start a business, how to start a 501c3, how to incorporate a for-profit business. What are the 1, 2, 3 steps? That's not my arena. My arena is to bring those in. My job is to encourage and inspire you, to let you know that if you're serious about your dream, write it down. And I use my artwork, as you know, I'm an
Right,
artist.
and you're an artist now, and showing your
And
pieces.
showing my
I
pieces.
remember when you were just doing it recreationally
And I
as
still
an
am.
outlet.
I
Yeah.
still am doing it as an outlet. I never intended. Still don't do it for the purposes of the business.
Gotcha.
I just paint because it's relaxing, and it's now become a ministry. I donate paintings to the Sisters Network, Breast Cancer for African American Women Support Group. I donate to the AIDS Foundation. I donate artwork to different groups and things. So it's become a ministry.
Amen.
And I'm very glad to be a part of it. But those are the kind of things we talk about at our vision casting. People need to capture a sense of vision, but you can't capture vision if you're not taught vision. If you don't grow up under vision and see things come to pass around you,
How would you know what it looks
how
like?
will you know what it looks like?
Well, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to have some final thoughts with Dr. Donald Hilliard, the pastor, the overseer, the shepherd of Cathedral Baptist Church right here in Perth Amboy, New